Hello, this is Anna Drummond, and I'm sitting here with Tarinda today, who's my helpie. Hey, Tarinda, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing good. What brings you in today?
Well, just had some issues with school and my future. Um, just feel kind of like unstable, kind of. Like usually, like in the past, I would be able to see where I could see myself going forward in the future, but now it's just kind of like I don't know if I'll stay in the same place. I don't know if I'll get worse, and I don't know if I'll get better. So.
Okay, so you feel unsure, really, what the future holds, so it's making it hard to plan.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I plan sometimes for like, well, this week I'll work on looking up different courses that will help me for my course plan in school. Um, and I'll start really strong on Monday, and by Wednesday, I'm not worried about it anymore. So it's kind of like I start off really strong, and then for whatever reason, I get out of place from it, and I don't know why.
Okay, so you feel confident at first, and then you start to feel a little disconnected
Yeah.
from the motivation.
Yeah.
Okay, is that just because you can't figure the courses out yourself? You need to talk to an advisor, or do you?
Um, I think I have everything kind of planned out in the beginning, and then when it's time to put in the work, it's just like other things become more important, or that this particular thing isn't important at all anymore. Or I'll just jump to another thing that I have a problem with and I'll try to fix that, as opposed to worrying about my career or my education.
Okay, so you feel like at first it's a top priority, and then all of a sudden everything else takes precedence over it
Yeah.
because you just lose interest because you're
Yeah.
so overwhelmed. You feel overwhelmed by the other stuff.
Yeah. So now I'm just trying to figure out how I can not only just go back to the things that I just left off, but to, because everything else is just as important, at least for now it is. So I don't know how I can go back to the things that I started out to do and keep everything else in order, like prioritize what's important, what's not. Well, just everything that's important. So I think, like, in my mind, everything is kind of like, oh, well, rent is obviously important, so I need a place to live. So automatically, rent is more important than education, even though education will get me to a better career that will I won't have to worry about rent anymore. I won't have to worry about getting the car fixed or something silly like that.
Okay, so you feel confused about signing up for your classes because you can't prioritize um, what needs to happen first.
Yeah, yeah.
They all kind of have the same priority level at first, and then everything else just piles on top because you can see it more than something that's for the future.
Yeah, exactly. Well, with that being said, it's kind of like thinking about all the things in the future, and then I'm thinking about right now, but some of the things, the issues right now aren't as big as the things in the future. But like you said, I can see them now, but I don't know how to get out of that. Like, I wouldn't even call it tunnel vision. I would just don't know how to get out of that, like, one mindedness. It just seems like I'm just one dimensional. Everything's just, okay, well, let me focus on this, and then, oh, there's something else, and then let me get onto that and drop that. That's not a big deal to me anymore. or I'll worry about it next week or 2 weeks from now. So I guess it's just like everything is just kind of like jumbled pretty much. And it's like all those things in the back of my mind are still important, but since I'm focused on this, I'm going to put my all into this, and I don't have any room for everything else.
Okay, so you feel by the time you get back to the school thing, you're kind of exhausted.
Yeah.
Because you've put in all of your effort into this or that, and then by the time you get back to some of your other priorities, it's just like, forget it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or because I accomplished this big goal, the other small ones, I don't care anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Well, is there anything else
Um,
that frustrates you about the process, or um, maybe feels a little daunting about the process that may keep you unmotivated?
I think it's the fact that regardless of what I do, I can't control what's next. And I mean, obviously, the regular things are like rent, like I was saying, like bills, or if something goes wrong with a car, even though I can't predict that happening, I still have it in mind that it could happen. So those things I can kind of still control because I always know when the first is, I already know when this bill is due. But no matter how much work I put into my education or my career goals, no matter how many applications I fill out or how many classes I apply for and get good grades in, it doesn't matter what's next beyond that door. Like, well, it does matter, but I can't control what happens after that. Like after that, yeah, I may get into all these courses that I'm applying for or registering for, but once I pass them, can I transfer them over to the next school? Or will my school just say, oh, that doesn't go along with the course plan anymore? And just, I lose the money and I lose the time. So I think that's where I am right now. It's just like, because I can't control the outcome of those things, it's just, I'd rather keep them on the back burner maybe. And I'll worry about them sometimes. And once I get one thing accomplished, and I'll just start up the cycle back over again.
Okay, so you feel overwhelmed by the lack of control that you have over the what if.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So would you also say then that you feel somewhat discouraged by it? Because you said that you feel like it's not going to matter whatever I do. So do you feel like what's the point of even going to school?
Well, I think it's important. I know it's important, and I know not just so that I can get into my future career, but just so that I can just say, hey, I did this, I accomplished this, and I want to look good to my family, and I want to look good to my friends, and I just think that's a really good. It's rewarding for myself and my family, but at the same time, knowing that it's also like, well, so and so is counting on me to do this beyond just me wanting it for myself. So and so is counting on me to do this, and my future kids are gonna, oh, well, what did you do when you were my age? And I have to tell them something, and if they're doing better than me or worse than me, how is that going to affect them? Where are they gonna stay? So I think that's one thing that I'm struggling with as well.
Okay, so you you're even worrying now about the things you'll be accountable for in the future before they're even an issue in the present.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that cause you to worry about those things? I mean, if it's not here, why is it so present in your mind? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, I know how bad it can get. Just in general, not even because of my past or watching anyone else's, but it's just I know how bad it can get. Like I think of the worst, like welfare or just being homelessness or something like that. I think of the absolute worst of it. Even though I've never been those places, I don't ever want to end up those places. But at the same time, it's just like I'm living in the moment right now. I'm nowhere near close to those things, but I'm also nowhere near close to my highest point. So because I'm not closest to my highest point, I automatically make the lowest point my I don't know, like my problem, my current issues. Even though I'm not physically homeless or physically, in poverty or anything like that, mentally I am. So it's just kind of like, how do you fight what's in your mind when physically it's not true or reality yet. So.
Okay, you said something interesting. Mentally, you are. What is it that is making you mentally feel like you're already in those moments when, like you said, you're so far from them?
Yeah, well, it's like maybe I have like a misconception with like reality and like fantasy. Maybe I don't know.
Do you feel like maybe if you kind of place yourself in that situation that seems realistic, you can kind of brace yourself to take it if it does in fact happen?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I'd rather, instead of working harder for the best, I'm preparing for the worst. And so when the worst happens, I can sit back and I say, oh, well, I already knew it would happen and I'm good, or I know how to get out of it pretty quickly. So then technically, I never really reach that bottom because I'm always concerned about the bottom as opposed to the top, my main priority.
Okay. Well, let me kind of recap here. So, you feel confused and unsure about going to school, mainly because it seems like your mind is getting clouded by everything else or different things that take higher priority over what's going on. And then you also feel a sense of the what if being bigger than what is currently.
Mm-hmm.
And you also kind of identifying yourself with worst possible scenarios so that you can brace yourself for them being a reality, even though you're currently not there yet.
Yeah.
Does that sound about right?
That's definitely right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming in. I really want to talk to you more